I'll tell you what Booktube has destroyed, and that's my TBR. Hello, my name's Gavin, this is Genre Books, and the title of this video is How Booktube Saved My Reading. I know it's a clickbaity title, but it is a part response to a video which had a clickbait title. Library of a Viking had a video saying how Booktube had destroyed his reading. It's got 13,000 views, so it's not all bad, old Booktube. Then I saw that there was a video by Tory Talks with 81,000 views. Booktube destroyed my reading and how I'm going to fix it. Shelley Swearingham, in response to the Library of a Viking video, had how Booktube destroyed my reading. That's got 9,000 views. Rana Najjar had 44,000 views for how Booktube and Goodreads ruined my reading. And before deciding that Booktube had destroyed his reading a year ago, Library of a Viking asked a question: is TikTok and Booktube destroying reading? That had 11,000 views. Perhaps the easiest and the quickest answer here is yes. It is destroying reading because we seem to be spending all of our time watching these videos instead. Now, I'm not going to get views anywhere near approaching that. I am not the biggest Billy Goat Gruff on Booktube, but I'm not above a little bit of gentle trolling. I found out about the Library of a Viking video because I saw Steve Donohue's response to that video, and I saw the response before I saw the original video, and I've seen that since the Steve video there's been the one from Shelley and one from Gareth at Books, Songs and Other Magic. So I thought, you know what, I'll stick my oar in. I don't do these videos. I'm much happier just talking to you about some author off of Project Gutenberg, but here we go. Let's get down to brass tacks. Booktube has not destroyed anybody's reading, and Booktube hasn't saved my reading. I would have been reading anyway. What I think Booktube has done in both cases is altered people's reading. It's certainly altered mine, and that's what I can really talk about. I'm a reader. I've always been a reader. I have had parts of my life where I have not read for a while. And one of those was in the last decade. It wasn't that I didn't love reading, it's just that I got out of the habit. There were other things to do, and reading is about habit. Most things with me are about habit, and that is a good thing and a bad thing depending on what that thing might be. A few years ago I got back into writing music. That's great, but I am single-minded, and although I produced a lot of stuff over the next year or 18 months, some good, some not great, the muse went and buggered off. So I was left at a loose end. So I'll try thinking about writing, or try writing. It didn't really work. But then looking at channels talking about writing advice on YouTube, I found channels about books on YouTube, and I found Booktube. I wasn't overly impressed with Booktube to begin with. It was good, but it wasn't great. But then I started digging, I persevered, and I found the part of Booktube which I think is great. And so, having found that part of Booktube, which I shall call the good stuff, I became hooked. Hooked as a viewer. But then I found myself taking part in the events. And I'm reading stuff I would not otherwise have read. I find myself commenting on Discord channels, commenting on the videos. I find the people whose videos I'm commenting on sometimes respond. There is now a dialogue. I am now invested, and it was crushingly inevitable that I would end up trying to do a channel myself. The reading events as we went through 2023 opened up new vistas for my reading, new ideas, new suggestions, if not kindred spirits, and certainly like-minded people and people I enjoyed interacting with. And if those people enjoy reading westerns, maybe I'll enjoy reading westerns. So I think possibly for the first time ever, I was reading westerns. People seem to read a fair amount of horror. I'd not read any horror since I was a teenager. I'd read some ghost stories, but no horror. Would I enjoy that as an adult? And it turns out, yes, I would. Everyone's channel is different, and look, you can read the classics and genre fiction cheek by jowl. I'll give that a go. Yes, you can, quite easily. No one here seems to be judging you on what you read. No one says that you have to like the popular thing, or you must be in a rush to get to the newest, shiniest release. And there is no imperative on this part of Booktube to get the latest limited edition, sprayed edges, variation cover, extra chapters, expanded frou-frou flavour of the month. But a nice book is a nice book, so knock yourself out if you want to. And crucially, we can read as much or as little as we do, with no judgment. And it is not about reading as much as you want. I don't think anyone reads as much as they want. It's about what you can read. But here I think we come to the crux of the matter. I think people feel they are judged on the amount that they are reading, but they are just putting themselves under pressure. I think I know this because I know that is what I'm like. Essentially, I am just greedy. I want to read more. I see people who do read more. I want to be like them. This is perhaps Booktube pressing my buttons a little bit, but they are my buttons, not Booktube's. But other people have buttons to be pressed too. Like I say, I'm greedy. Mine are based on envy. Envy of people's time and leisure, rather than coveting anything material. But some people's buttons are based on materiality, or competitiveness, or pedantry, or having to have the last word, or hankering to be the authority on a particular subject or sub-subject. And it's natural to perhaps be envious, and it's possibly even healthy to be a little competitive. It's what drives you. And it drives me to read more in the time that I have available. And I can look forward to the time when I will have more time available. But the not so natural, not so healthy side is when it becomes about things that aren't the reading. When you perhaps feel that your subscriber numbers are a reflection of the Booktube community on you, I would just ask you to consider one thing when you are perhaps making that kind of judgment. Think of all the great booktubers you know or watch that have low, comparatively low subscriber numbers. Now think of some of the absolute flotsam that can get to 100,000 subscribers or more. It's not important unless you want to be monetizing stuff. If you want to be monetizing stuff, your first mistake was picking books. I'm not immune. Occasionally I might fall into that trap a little bit. I will tell people that I don't care about subscriber numbers, and most of the time that is true. And then I'll get 10 or a dozen subscribers in a flurry, and I will become Bilbo, being asked to give up the One Ring.
After all, why not? Why shouldn't I keep it?
I get it. I understand it. It feels nice. It feels like validation. Incidentally, please do subscribe. But it's not the be-all and end-all by any stretch. And if YouTube went away tomorrow, life would go on. This is getting away from reading a little bit. But there was a reason for mentioning it, and that is perhaps there is one negative thing Booktube has had on my reading. I mentioned it in the tag I did on Tuesday for March of the Mammoths, and that is I'm reading shorter books so that I have something fresh in my mind to talk about, or that I can complete the Read What You Won't challenge a little bit quicker. So needing to post videos on a consistent basis to feed that damned algorithm has an impact. But I can still choose some great books, and I can choose a lot of varied subjects. And that is my only negative. That is the only thing where you could possibly say it's impacting my reading. The positives that outweigh that negative are legion. It has saved me from being, I won't say a rut, but it has saved me from being quite so parochial with what I read. It saved me from a reading slump. There is a reason to read stuff. There is a community of people I can talk to. It has suggested new avenues, new genres. It's reminded me of old genres, of things that I had forgotten. It's helped me to make connections and cognitive leaps that I otherwise possibly would not have made. It has allowed me to speak about and to formulate my thoughts, such as they are. There was no way I could have done something like this 13, 14 months ago. And it has, most importantly, connected me with a host of new acquaintances and friends, and they all like books too. It simply has made me read more than I otherwise would have done. Now, if you're a big Booktube channel, firstly, congratulations, sincerely. It must be a massive slog to do that. And the channel must be even more precious to you than this one is to me, because the time and effort invested into it. I appreciate it. But the chances are that this is helped by the attention you have paid in a very forensic and successful way to that algorithm. And the algorithm is telling you which books are popular and which books are not. Not based on the books, but based on people's reaction to the books. And you want the reaction, so you chase that rather than the literature itself. Algorithms have their place, but I would suggest that dictating to you what you should read is not one of the things they should be doing. This does not just happen in Booktube. This is every time you log on to Amazon for suggestions of what you might want to be reading, or what things are suggesting you might want to watch on a streaming service. The paucity of proper search functions on Spotify and their god-awful curated playlists. The tyranny of limited choice and groupthink in the modern marketplace. It has done wonderful things. It has allowed us to experience and be exposed to more than we could ever possibly have imagined when I was growing up. But it's also trying to tell us what we would like to read, see, hear, and in the end, think. There was a band back in the early 90s, so dating myself here, called The Levelers. They were named after 17th century English Civil War political movement. As a side note, that was quite a popular thing to do back in the old days when we had rock bands. You had New Model Army, Franz Ferdinand, Jethro Tull, Dead Kennedys, the Gang of Four, the Decembrists, Maximo Park, Communards. Political choices for band names was quite good. Anyway, The Levelers. Folk rock. A bit too earnest for me, if I'm honest. But they had a big hit. It was a catchy tune. Every Tuesday at the Psychic Pig nightclub, I would be dancing with everyone else, and it was always one of the last songs played in the evening. And I had one night a moment of clarity. I was probably the designated driver that night. So I had an epiphany. Everyone pogo dancing around me in unison, singing that there is only one way of life, and that's your own. I don't claim to be an iconoclast, but that point made me think a little bit about that kind of thing. And I thought maybe I'll do my own thing rather than dance around the same as everyone else. Aren't we all individuals? Everyone's saying they're an individual at the same time might not be completely true. I would like to plough my own furrow a little bit more, just like Jethro Tull did with his seed drilling machine, to bring it back to rock bands and, well, not political, but agrarian figures of history. Basically, if you are trying to make your Booktube channel the booktubiest Booktube channel out there, the platonic ideal, the sine qua non, the aesthetic choice, the high subscriber amounts, the algorithmic resonance, the must-watch content, you may end up disappointing yourself. You may feel that Booktube has destroyed your reading. If, however, you are content to be part of the amazing variety and choice of literature being discussed, if you are happy to be part of that diversity of voices that Booktube can be, then I think Booktube will save your reading. And if it takes a clickbaity title to say that, then I'll do the clickbaity title. Just this once. And a few more subscribers wouldn't hurt either. Now, have I told you about Squarespace? It's a fantastic